Good evening and a very warm welcome to Radio and Television Tonga news package for the hour. Leading our bulletin for tonight, CEO of the Ministry of Agriculture denies that tobacco found by the New Zealand Customs within a shipment from Tonga was smuggled. Tonga records a 29% drop in food crop exports this year, and Reverend Sione Otohomama'o of Utulau and Lapaha named as the Dux of Seattle Theological College for 2022. We'll have these and more stories later on in the bulletin, including the latest sports news for the hour. Now I'm Vafana Duopola with the stories in detail. The Dux of Seattle Theological College for 2022 has been awarded to Reverend Sione Otohomama'o of Utulau and Lapaha, Tongatapu. Reverend Sione Otohomama'o was announced Dux this morning and awarded the prestigious title after completing his Bachelor of Divinity. Meanwhile, the proximate executive of the school was awarded to Popile Nati of Haveluloto, Puke and Auckland, New Zealand. We'll have more on the details from the graduation. The guest of honor at the ceremony was His Royal Highness Crown Prince Tupotoa Ulukalala, a second grandchild of Her late Majesty Queen Saloteutupo III, who founded Seattle Theological College in 1948. The college offers 5 academic programs including Bachelor of Divinity, Diploma in Theology, Certificate in Pastoral Ministry, a 1-year study program of church ministers at Tongatapu, and a special study program designated for women. As such, the top student of the Certificate of Pastoral Ministry program for 2022 was awarded to Viliami Fukataupaki, followed by Seluvayanga Wamo at second place. The top student for Diploma in Theology was awarded to Sarah Rapansano. Meanwhile, the Bachelor of Divinity, a 4-year period study program which saw the first-year top award go to Jeremy Seth Diploma Vuna of Makapaeo and Homa Tongatapu. Year 2 went to Kalistofeni Likiafu of Petani and Angaha Ewa, while Meivila Heofa Eukaliti of Nuku'alofa and Matahau was awarded the Year 3 award. However, during the principal's annual report, Reverend Dr. Paula Noafilatu announced a new study program to be offered at the school next year for students who wish to further their studies in Master of Philosophy. He added the school has prepared a development construction project to mark the school's 75th anniversary next year. Also in attendance at today's graduation ceremony was Reverend Dr. Henry Taliani Meitolu, the acting president of the Free Wesleyan Church of Tonga, amongst distinguished guests. The Chief Executive Officer of the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Forestry, Dr. William Manu, tonight claims that tobacco was smuggled to New Zealand after the New Zealand Customs found almost 600 kilograms of tobacco in containers that were shipped into the country from Tonga earlier this month. Mark Ake takes up that story.
The incident saw New Zealand Customs find nearly 600 kilograms of tobacco in containers that were shipped from Tonga. A Tongan Auckland businessman was arrested for participating in smuggling 593 kilograms of tobacco into New Zealand. The CEO of the Ministry of Agriculture, Dr. William Manu, told Radio and Television Tonga News that the export of tobacco to New Zealand and Australia is not smuggling, as it has been a common export for Tonga's tobacco growers. He says this was due to New Zealand not enforcing their law in regards to commercial goods that are to be exported to their country. He added that people should complete an application form from New Zealand Customs before they can export tobacco. New Zealand is also enforcing their laws in regards to the export of tobacco, as they know tobacco is being exported into their country for commercial purposes. As such, tobacco growers who are exporting tobacco to New Zealand must pay large taxes before shipping out. According to New Zealand's One News, the 593 kilograms of tobacco found by New Zealand Customs saw a total of 1.8 million ba'anga in taxes avoided. However, Dr. William Manu highlighted the importance of tobacco growers to complete the necessary paperwork required by New Zealand Customs to avoid this problem from happening again.
Tonga Institute of Science and Technology, or TIST, with Tonga Maritime Polytechnic Institute, or TMPI, held their graduation ceremony at Queen Salote Memorial Hall today, with 290 students in total graduating from both schools. Alice Tupo with the detail.
According to the annual report of the principal of Tonga Institute of Science and Technology, Talanoha Foka says there were 285 students enrolled at Tonga Institute of Science and Technology in February 2019, and today only 215 were awarded with certificates, which is 74% of the initial number of students enrolled. He adds that 26% of the students didn't complete their courses after withdrawing once they realized they were studying the wrong course. Some students conducted practical courses at some government ministries, and a few students got hired by these ministries, which saw them withdraw from their studies. Other students dropped out after some students got married, while some migrated abroad. 75 students graduated from the Tonga Maritime Polytechnic Institute today with certificates in General Purpose Rating Plus 1 and 2 in Catering, Deck and Engineering, Able-bodied Seafarer Plus 1 and 2 Deck and Engineering, as well as Master Engineer Class 6 Plus 1 and 2. From the Tonga Institute of Science and Technology, 215 students were awarded with certificates from welding level 2, automotive light vehicle, carpentry, electrical engineering, fitting and machining, panel beating and spray painting, and plumbing. During the Honourable Prime Minister Hokawa Meliku's address, he said that this is the last graduation of these two institutes under the government, and they will graduate next year as a new national university. He also encouraged the students to further their studies next year in the new university.
TVET students learn how to apply their skills in a practical manner, and not from learning theory alone, to increase their knowledge and progress in life. As the field of vocational education is very broad, all students can choose from many available options. With every choice, there are proper training and education for them by teachers who use many modern tools and lessons learned. The new TVET coordination unit established by the government in the Ministry of Education was launched on 21st of April 2022. It's also instrumental with this important endeavour. We are grateful to the Australian government for the resourcing and support of this TVET unit. Previous cooperation has been made between APDC and MET through agreements with the various institutions in the Ministry of Education. It will certainly assist with helping students to learn a variety of applications to help them further in a professional career or involve themselves in a skillful art or activity on their own merit. If they get the right type of vocational education or training, students will become independent. They will become specialized after developing their skill sets and have better chances of gaining employment locally and internationally. This kind of education is also important to our economy. For instance, the government of Tonga does not have to rely on employing foreign technicians, and it will therefore generate more job opportunities for those who have successfully completed their vocational education and training, such as It may be debatable that graduates from vocational education are far more responsible and equipped at handling responsibilities than those of regular education. In vocational education and training, students follow a certain manual work that teaches them the importance of physical work that helps them to remain active and healthy. A formal degree is not necessarily required for an individual to be qualified for a job. However, after building close-knit relationships with like-minded fellow students, strong networks will be created and beneficial to career development. We are living in an era where vocational skills should not be overlooked and university degrees given the utmost importance. With more opportunities opening up increasingly for the youth and adults, the focus should be an equal division in the academics as well as vocational education and raise confidence for all.
It is understood that 8 courses from a test are taught in secondary schools such as Tubo College Toloa, Liahona High School and schools in the Outer Islands. Reporting for Radio and Television Tonga News, I'm Alice Tupo.
The Ministry of Agriculture has recorded a 29% decrease in the export of crops this year. This year, only 11,078 tons of crops were shipped overseas.
The Minister of Agriculture, Lord Fohe, conducted the Ministry's annual report for 2021-2022 in Parliament yesterday and revealed that despite a drop in the shipment of crops overseas, the shipment of coconut, Tongan kava, pumpkins, Tongan handicrafts and nono trees has increased. Food crops are the highest exported resource with more than 5,000 tons exported, of which cassava is the highest crop, followed by yams. Meanwhile, the Chief Executive Officer of the Agriculture Ministry, Dr. William Manu, told Radio and Television Tonga News that due to delays and shipment reschedules caused by the Hungahapa eruption and tsunami in January, as well as COVID-19 restrictions, people were unable to go to the bush and harvested their crops for export and commercial use. Instead, they were only grew enough for daily consumption. 10,000 families in Tonga survive and earn money off of agriculture. The Agriculture Ministry's annual report for 2021-2022 differs from the usual annual reports in previous years due to the impacts from the devastations in January and COVID-19. The Ministry of Agriculture hopes they could help revive the agriculture sector. However, the Ministry of Agriculture's annual report for 2021-2022 was approved by the Whole House Committee yesterday. Reporting for Radio and Television Tonga News, I'm Alice Tupo.
And as the Earth's temperature gets increasing warm, the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Forestry is pushing the public to grow 1 million trees by 2025. The hope is to grow more trees in Tonga to reduce carbon emissions. This is one of the issues raised during the 58th International Coconut Community Session, in which the Ministry of Agriculture attended online to discuss the effects of climate change on the agricultural sector. Alice Tupo will tell you more on that story.
The 58th International Coconut Community Session started on Monday and concluded this afternoon. The aim of this session is to provide opportunities to all ministers of the ICC's 20-member countries, including Tonga, to provide efforts in the fight against climate change, especially in terms of agricultural resources such as coconuts, yams, and other crops. The CEO of the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Forestry, Dr. William Manu, says the concern is that as the air gets warmer, more crops become affected and fail to yield. Dr. William said if the temperature increases to 32 degrees, the number of coconut trees that blossom will decline. If it increases to 35 degrees, fruits will also be affected, and if it increases to 37 to 40 degrees, food crops like cassava, yam, and taro will suffer the same fate. As such, the ministry is advising the people of Tonga to grow more trees in their tax allotments or anywhere, as it will help minimize carbon emissions that cause the air to become warmer. The concern is because of the importance of food security, especially for the future generation. Dr. Vidyami added coconut is important to grow these days, as this is one of the main sources of income for most families in Tonga and because it can withstand cyclones. Tonga usually exports approximately 56 containers of coconuts, but recently it has decreased to 20 containers due to the drought that occurred in 2014, Cyclone Gita in 2018, and this year's January 15th disasters. However, Dr. Vidyami Manu says they are working to strengthen coconut farms like Tinopai Farm to increase the number of containers being shipped overseas.
That wraps up this evening's news package, but before we part, here's one final look at today's top stories. CEO of the Ministry of Agriculture denies that tobacco found by the New Zealand customs within a shipment from Tonga was smuggled. Tonga records a 29% drop in food crop exports this year. And Reverend Sione Otohomama'u of Utolau and La Paha named as the Ducks of Seattle Theological College for 2022. And that's it for tonight. Thank you for your company. I'm Bafanato Paula. Good evening.